Shalom, shalom, call halayim Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Chakudash, and Shani Kabbalah at Walla Requab, Zaquanyam Nawa, Washalayakim Nawa, and that is double honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and Shalom, Wabarakim Labakayim Shalayasharala, and that is peace and blessing to the elect of Israel, and the peace and blessings to the confusion of faces, and may a double portion of the Holy Spirit be put upon the brothers that are out there on the highways and byways, offering their bodies as a living sacrifice out there on the front lines. So, through the Spirit, I've been just going back over the past few days, the book of Romans. So I just started at the first chapter, and now today I woke up and the Spirit was on me to read Romans, the second chapter. And so I did that, and this isn't going to be a breakdown of the entire chapter, just more so I just want to jump into explaining a few scriptures, a few verses that stuck out to me. And with that being said, I'm going to start here at Romans, the second chapter, verse 11, and I'm going to read down and then maybe jump down to verse 25. So we'll see. So once again, I do pray that it's edifying, just reading some verses that stuck out to me. So Romans 2, verse 11 says, "For there is no respect of persons with the Most High. For as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law." Because remember, the scriptures say the deceived and the deceiver are his. So if the Most High wanted certain people to be saved and understand prophecy and get the law and rehearse the righteous acts through faith, then he'd put the Spirit on them and allow them to do so. But for as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law. It's very much straightforward. It goes on to say, "And as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law." And that's straightforward as well. And now verse 13 says, "For not the hearers of the law are just before the Most High, but the doers of the law shall be justified." Now, why are the doers of the law justified? Because remember, Yahushua Mashiach came down and died for the sins of the elect out of the nation of Israel. Now, through having faith in the Messiah, in Yahushua, through having faith in him, therefore we keep the laws. So we keep the laws by faith. We keep the laws through and by faith, and that's what makes us justified. So it's not the fact that you're actually the act of doing the law, but it's the act of having faith and therefore rehearsing the righteous acts of the law. Because remember, we're not ruling, and therefore we can't keep the laws perfectly. So if you offend in even the smallest act of the law, then you offend in the entire law. And that's how you're going to be judged if you feel as if the law is what's going to save you. The law can't save you. You're not truly justified in the law. You're justified by your faith in rehearsing the law. All right? So Romans 2 and 13, once again, "For not the hearers of the law are just before the Most High, but the doers of the law shall be justified." And now that I explained that, let me just get a precept just to back it up, everything that I said, through the Spirit. So Galatians 2, verse 16, it says, "Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law," you see, "but by the faith of Yahushua Mashiach, even we have believed in Yahushua Mashiach, that we might be justified by the faith of Hamashiach, and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified." And that's why I wanted to explain Romans, the second chapter, before I actually read Galatians, because when we read it over, hopefully it should make more sense. So now Romans 2, let's jump back down there. Verse 13, "For not the hearers of the law are just before the Most High, but the doers of the law shall be justified." Because the doers of the law are going to be the ones that are actually having faith. That's why they're keeping that law. All right. or rehearsing it, I should say. Now verse 14 says, "For when the Gentiles, which have not the law," and remember, because of the curses, because we disobeyed the Lord, then he scattered us. The Lord scattered the Israelites. He scattered us amongst all nations. And you're going to have Israelites that come up looking like the nations in which they were scattered. So when it says Gentiles right here, it's referring to Israelite foreigners that were scattered amongst the Gentiles. For when the Gentiles, or Israelite foreigners, which have not the law, do by nature or instinctively the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves. Now, before we go into different translation comparisons, let's just read this really quickly. Romans 8 verse 16. Romans 8 verse 16 says, "The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High." The Spirit is the book. The Spirit, the energy, the motivating force that comes with the book, which is the Spirit coming from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. That's the Spirit itself that's bearing witness with our spirit individually that we are the children or the sons of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, because we naturally or instinctively just relate to the book, the words in it. It just relates. It makes sense. Now, when we jump back over to Romans, the 2nd chapter, and watch this, we're going to Romans 2 and 14. I'll read it, and then we'll go into a different translation comparison. "For when the Gentiles, which have not the law," the Israelite foreigners, "do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves." Now watch this translation comparison, verse 14. One of them says instinctively. Hold on, I may have skipped it. Hold on. "Which have not the law, do the things contained, do the demands, do nature what the law requires." Or maybe I'm thinking of a different verse. It's okay. I'm probably thinking of a different verse. But yeah, remember, oh, no, I'm not. That's the Spirit. Here we go. The NLT, check it out. It says, "Even Gentiles," meaning Israelite foreigners, "who do not have God's written law, show that they know his law when they instinctively obey it, even without having heard it." You see? Now that's why sometimes you can easily just tell if somebody is an Israelite, no matter how they look, because naturally, one, your spirits bear witness with each other, and then most importantly, that person's spirit is bearing witness with the spirit of the book, and they're just instinctively sometimes keeping the law, or they're just instinctively, naturally acting like Jake, no matter how they look, whether they look like a so-called Chinese, so-called Japanese, so-called Hawaiian, so-called white man, so-called Arab, no matter what it is, so-called Ethiopian, their spirit bears witness with the spirit of the book, and they naturally or instinctively keep the law. They naturally or instinctively act like Jake. They move around like us. Their swag, so-called swag, is like us. They talk like us. They like the same kind of music. They're the salt of the earth. And you can just tell. It's natural, but that's a law unto itself. That's why you have to go by the Spirit. You can't judge a man by how he looks. You can't judge a book by its cover. You know, that little analogy, I guess, if you will, means a lot when it comes to judging by the Spirit. So yeah, the NLT breaks it down easily. And I like that it says instinctively. You know, sometimes it's good to just go into the different translation comparisons. So let's keep going. Now, verse 15 says, "Which show the work of the law written in their hearts," or written in their minds, "their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the meanwhile accusing or excusing one another." Now, I actually did the same exact thing. I went into a different translation comparison, and it was the NIV, or maybe the NLT. I may read both. Nah, I think it was the NIV that I liked. It says, they show that the requirements of the law are written on their hearts or their minds, their consciences also bearing witness, and their thoughts sometimes accusing them, and at other times even defending them. Because remember, it's just instinctive. It's just natural. Sometimes it's like, dang, my flesh is telling me to do this, but in the spirit, it's like, no, man, that's not right. I don't know why it's not right. I just know it's not right. And then maybe like a few days or a few weeks later, you'll come across reading something or a video or a brother would just say it at camp. And you'll think back to a few weeks ago and you're like, oh, shoot. So I was right. I shouldn't have done that. Or that wasn't right. And you just naturally or instinctively made the right decision. That's your thoughts sometimes defending you. That's why it says in their thoughts sometimes accusing them, saying, yo, you're going off. That's not right, just naturally. And at other times defending them. Oh, yeah, you know what? I can't do that. No, don't do that. The scriptures say I may die if I do that. I haven't come across it, but it just doesn't feel right. And this is going into those Israelite foreigners, remember, that don't have the law. Even before we came into this truth, then sometimes, I guess even myself, I can look back and I can think and say, yeah, there were some things that just didn't feel right. And now that I came into this truth, I'm actually finding laws on it. There's so many laws, in this book, and I'm finding laws on certain things that I can think back before I was in the truth and say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes you just have those moments when it's like, oh, dang. And that's what this is talking about right here. And here we go. Verse 16, it says, in the day when the Most High shall judge the secrets of men by Yahushua Mashiach, according to my gospel. In the day when the Most High shall judge the secrets of men. Now let's jump over here to a nice little precept. 2nd Esdras 16. And yeah, I'm going to start at verse maybe 63. Yeah, verse 63. Yep. 2nd Esdras 16, verse 63. Surely he knoweth your inventions, meaning the thoughts in your mind, and what ye think in your hearts, meaning your mind, even them that sin and would hide their sin. Therefore hath the Lord exactly searched out all your works, and he will put you all to shame. And when your sins are brought forth, ye shall be ashamed before men, and your own sins shall be your accusers in that day. Your own sins that you tried to hide are going to be your accusers in that day. Now let's jump back here. Romans 2 verse 16. It says, in the day when the Most High shall judge the secrets of men by Yahushua Mashiach, according to my gospel. Let's look up that word secrets. We all know what a secret is, but why not see what it says? The Greek word is kryptos. Like when something is encrypted, it's hidden. That's also where you get the word apocrypha. The word apocrypha means to be sent away hidden. And the word in apocrypha that means hidden is, remember, apocrypha. All right, it is how it's pronounced. So the kryph, the APOCR, let me just type it in. Make sure I'm not tripping. APO, the CRYPH. Like when something is encrypted. All right, that's the part of the word apocrypha that means to be sent away. Or that means to be hidden. I'm sorry, it means to be hidden. I'm confusing myself now. So anyway, that's where you get the word right here, kryptos. It says hidden, concealed, or secret. You jump down here and it says inwardly. All right, inwardly, private, hidden, or secret. Okay, so just wanted to bring that out because Once again, came across that in the studies. But yeah, man, you can't hide anything from the Lord. He knows your deepest, darkest secrets. You got to think about it too. He's the one that actually puts all the thoughts in your mind anyway. It makes you act and do certain things. That's why you have to always pray that the Lord, keeps his Holy Spirit upon you and, renews in you a correct and proper and righteous mind every single day. You got to pray that he gives you righteous and holy thoughts, because you don't want the Lord to send a lying spirit upon you. So that's it right there. Let me see if there was anything else that I wanted to. Oh, yeah. Romans 2, I wanted to read verse 25 as well. Romans 2 and 25 says, "For circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision." So let's read it again. It says, "For circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keep the law." Because remember, this was a covenant. It was a covenant of circumcision that the Lord made with Abraham. And that covenant was passed down to his son Isaac, and which was passed down to his son Jacob. All right. And so circumcision represents keeping the law. "For circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision," meaning your physical circumcision, "is made uncircumcision." Because there's no point. There was no point in you actually getting circumcised if you're just going to break the law. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, meaning those Israelite foreigners, aka Gentiles, the Israelite foreigners that are uncircumcised, it says, if they keep the righteousness of the law, meaning if they're keeping the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? So because they're keeping the law by faith, even though they're not circumcised, should that not be counted for circumcision? Of course it does, because they're striving to keep the law. Even though they're not physically circumcised, they're still striving to keep the law. So verse 27, "And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision does transgress the law?" So you had people back then, during this time, that were circumcised and they were keeping the law and they were boasting in the law. But then you have these Israelite foreigners. Well, let me say this. You had people back then, because when you actually read up, let me see. I know the verse because I was just reading it. Verse 17. We're going to read 17. And remember, we're just studying right here. I'm just going back over my studies, committing it to video. Romans 2 verse 17, it says, "Behold, thou art called a Jew, and retest in the law, and makest thy boast of the Most High." Now check it out. And then we're going to jump back down, but this will make everything more clear. Romans 2 verse 17 in the CSB says, "Now if you call yourself a Jew and rely on the law and boast in God," so that's what it means when it says retest in the law, "and knowest his will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law." And when you keep going, it says you boast of the law and then you break the law when you keep reading. So now we're going to jump down and it'll make more sense. Verse, where we at? We were at 26, right? No, verse 27. "And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision does transgress the law?" Because now you have these Israelite foreigners that are actually keeping the law, even though they're not circumcised. So doesn't their act of faith by keeping the law, that judges you who boast in the law? It was judging these people that were boasting in the law back then, that were circumcised, boasting about keeping the law. "I'm an apostle sent by Yahushua, and I'm keeping the law sent by the Messiah." Right? But the act of these Israelite foreigners actually keeping the law, even though they weren't physically circumcised, that act condemned those that were circumcised. That's what that's meant right here, verse 27. And we might as well finish it out. It says, "For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh." Because remember, it was by faith that you're keeping the law. So this isn't talking about a spiritual Israelite. We're not talking about spiritual Israelites right here. I'll read it again. "For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly," meaning in the flesh, meaning you're a Jew because you're circumcised and therefore you're keeping the law. It says, "Neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh." You see? That's not what's important here. That's not what's significant. "But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly," meaning in your mind. Because remember, you're striving to keep the law. You're instinctively keeping the law, which is a law unto itself. "But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart," meaning of the mind. Because you're striving to keep the laws in your mind to the best of your capabilities. "And circumcision is that of the heart in the spirit, and not in the letter," meaning not in the law, "whose praise is not of men, but of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai." And so that's it right there. Those are the verses that really stuck out to me that I just wanted to commit. And once again, I'm not really going over the entire chapter. Just wanted to commit some studying to video, because why not? Why not study together? Why not, edify the body? That's what we're commanded to do. And Lord's will, I'll keep going in Romans, the book of Romans. And as the Spirit hits me, then I'll just grab out some precepts, some verses that stuck out to me in, the 3rd, the 4th, and 5th chapter, Lord's will, if I'm able to keep going. So with that being said, I do pray that it's edifying. I know I was kind of all over the place, but I still pray that it was edifying. And I want to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Chakudash. Double honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom.